It's true. You'd find it even in the United Kingdom at present with the Conservatives between Clegg and Cameron. You see there is a rift. But I'm saying over the issue of inviting Navi Pillay here, several ministers have been very outspoken in their criticism of Navi Pillay being invited.
Well, I think the problem really is not the criticism of the invitation. The problem is the nature of the criticism. The criticism has encompassed her ethnic origins, and these are somehow seen as some terrible, some kind of curse. You know, she's of Tamil origin. How can she talk about these?
She's not. I doubt very much that if you ask Madam Pillay herself that she would describe herself as a Tamil.
No, absolutely not, Nadeem. I've been on the other side of the barricades with Madam Pillay, 2008, 2009, and I made it my business to check her out with the other African countries, third world countries, and so on. Navi Pillay is a South African. I mean, the people who criticize her in Sri Lanka, referring to her Tamil, so-called Tamil identity, are really being very, very obtuse, because a South African considers himself or herself primarily a South African, and South Africa consists of blacks, whites, people of Indian origin. I mean, Mahatma Gandhi started his political career, if you like, in South Africa, not in India, when he was a young lawyer in South Africa. So the Indian community in South Africa has long been integrated into the struggle of the South African people. And within the Indian community, of course, there are Indians who trace their roots to all sorts of places, Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, whoever. But in Navi Pillay's consciousness, the idea that she's somehow Tamil and that is her primary identity is ridiculous, and those who say it here prove the point made by those who criticize Sri Lanka. The point is that these guys, that's us, they see everything through the narrowest of ethnic prisms. Everything is ethnic for them. So, I mean, we are just proving that. I don't think it's true. But when somebody listens to this stuff, Navi Pillay is Tamil, her husband was indicted for terrorism. Yeah, who indicted her husband for terrorism? The white apartheid regime. And he was proven innocent even under those rules. She was a supporter of terrorism. She was a supporter of the African National Congress, which is the liberation movement which has the greatest respect among all liberation movements anywhere in the world, led by the man who is the most respected political leader and moral leader on planet Earth at the moment, and that's Nelson Mandela. Now, those who know about the ANC know that the ANC was always a multiracial organization. The head of the military wing of the ANC, yes, was a white Jewish communist, Joe Slovo. So the ANC was never racist or racial minded or communal, though Sri Lankan ministers seem to be, obviously. I mean, they look at everything through this ethnic or ethnocentric prism. It just reveals the tribalism of these guys. It doesn't reveal anything about Navi Pillay.
Dr. Jayatilleka, how much damage does this cause to? I mean, when you have senior members of the government going out and making a statement. Now, you've been in the foreign service for a very long time. You served in France and Geneva, etc. When people hear, when senior officials in the government, I mean, it's mostly highlighted. It doesn't really make its way into the international media. It's mostly highlighted in the local media. But it's not like the world is not watching our local media. It's probably get a good picture of Sri Lanka from it.
The international media has picked this stuff up. This morning, I mean, I checked my email, and on Yahoo, again, the second item was the Sri Lankan government's statement on Nabi Pillai, the news statement. So it's made the international news.
No, I'm saying the statements made by senior members of the government regarding, for example, harping on Miss Pillai's ethnicity.
And that's made the international media too.
Yeah, when you're representing the country in a foreign mission, in a foreign nation, how difficult is it for you to do your job when you have senior members of the government who are saying things like this back at home? Do you go into sort of what you call a damage control mode?
Well, my personal experience is that that's not the way I played it. I crossed swords with Madam Pillai in Geneva during the special session of the Human Rights Council, which I noticed she has referred to in her reply to a question posed by one of your colleagues, Shamir Rasuldeen. Yes. I saw it on your newscast, and she refers to the special session. Now, we defeated that attempt, and in that sense we beat her on her own home turf. But not once did I or any of us refer to her in terms of, of ethnic prejudice and connotations of that sort. It was a matter of principle. And we managed to rally almost 2/3 of that council precisely because we were appealing on the basis of reason and rational argument. We didn't sound tribal, to use the late Lakshman Kadirgama's words. But this kind of tribalism does us enormous damage. But of course it depends on the individual ambassador. Your country is judged by your discourse and your profile and the image that you project. So, for better or worse, at that time, our country was judged through me, what they saw of me, and it seemed to work. Now,
but
if I had a different view,
wouldn't it also have been judged based on your reaction or how you handled statements that were being made back at home?
Well, whatever the statements, I didn't echo them when I was there if I disagreed with them.
Did you ever find yourself in a position where you were asked, look, this man so-and-so from your government, a senior member of your government, has said this, this and this, what do you have to say about it?
Yes, I have been asked that, and I have said that is not the position of the government, I mean, it's not the position of the president. I was able to say that on certain occasions because these statements were usually by members of smaller, more extreme parties. So I had that, and I replied as honestly as I could because credibility is important. I mean, if people think that you're taking them for a fool or that you're a fool, that doesn't do your country or yourself any good. So I replied as frankly as I possibly could.
Dr. Jayatilleka, the other question that I want to ask you now, when you were in Geneva, the constitution of the Human Rights Council, I mean the membership of the Human Rights Council is obviously very different. Now you managed to secure 29 votes for Sri Lanka in that and defeat a proposed resolution against Sri Lanka, which we did not manage to do in 2012 or 2013.
To put it mildly.
But do you think that it was the makeup of the council that managed to swing it, or was it actually a success for the Foreign Service?
Nothing. It wasn't a success for the Foreign Service. I mean, because it's the same Foreign Service that has been represented there, and I was an appointee of the President. I didn't come through the Foreign Service. I'm not a career diplomat, thank God. But I think the answer to your question lies in the vote, because those who voted for whatever the change in composition, and there was a certain change in the composition, but what is crucial is whether we were able to retain the votes of those who voted for us in 2009. In other words, what of that element of the council that did not change in composition? And we've lost those votes. I don't mean only India. Brazil, there are no Tamil voters in Brazil. We've lost most of Latin America. And Malaysia shifted from supporting us to abstaining.
Brazil is a major player in BRICS. You do not think that they would be swayed by US pressure?
Absolutely, and it wasn't US pressure. The Uruguayans who voted with us voted against us. Left-wing governments in Latin America who aren't swayed by the United States voted against Sri Lanka in 2012 and 2013. So it is not the composition that was the key to the victory, because even with Russia, China and India supporting it, a few weeks after our 2009 special session, Myanmar lost a vote, because it could always count on Russia, China and India, but it lost votes. So it was not so much the composition, but our ability to convince a cross-continent broad coalition. We built a broad coalition, and we were able therefore to contain, if you like, the High Commissioner, Madam Pillay, on her own home turf, which was Geneva, because she wanted to come and check out Nandikadal in 2009 and report back to the Council in 6 months. But we were able, through that resolution, we were able to contain her there, in Geneva, far away from our traditional homeland. But 4 years down the road, not 14 years, not 8 years, 4 years down the road, Madam High Commissioner was able to come here to the, to play on the home turf of the government, and rattle up a fairly good score. Now that's a sharp drop, and I'm rather sad to see that. A sharp drop in our